Okay, so this is the 11th video for the Jagdpanther tank destroyer. And we're just going to start with some, well, we're going to use up the template parts other than the shield, the side skirts, and just get the rest of these attached. So, I've got a piece of basically thin mesh here. It's actually part of a little treat bag for parties. That was quite nice mesh. And these little round bits that you glued to cue card paper, hopefully, should cut those out now. So they're little round pieces like this. And actually, just take the mesh and glue these round bits down to it. This is using 4-to-1 glue rather than, that's 2-to-1 glue, so I want to use some thicker glue than that. Just put a nice amount of glue right on the circle here. Actually sort of over glue it. And then what I find works good is like have this mesh sitting on a flat surface, drop that down, then you kind of pull this away and you can see how a little bit of glue pulled down onto the surface of the table. That actually serves to pull this tight to the mesh quite often. So it's a good method to kind of cinch it down a little bit without too much pressure. I mean, obviously you can push it down with your finger as well, but that kind of really pulls it into the mesh, I find. And then just set it somewhere where it won't actually glue down to the table to dry. You're going to need those parts coming up soon. Also, these long, thin parts, I told you in the beginning that I didn't bother cutting them out because they're so easy to lose. You do want to cut those out now as well. And, oh, this is the white glue. Okay, so I'm just going to keep using 4-to-1 glue for this. It should be fairly obvious where most of these pieces go. These go on the rear of the hull side here. One on either side. I do make an effort to sort of try to make sure they're not flexed when they go on there. Else one side sometimes will peel up. So, I mean, if the ends bow sort of inward toward the vehicle, that's fine. It's when the center bows in toward the vehicle that you don't want to kind of glue it down like that. One end will sometimes pop up. Okay, this little piece goes on the top of the superstructure. Hopefully that one wasn't too hard to cut out. And this door on the back, you can tell the direction it's installed by where the hinges sort of sit. This is the door for the rear of the superstructure. Okay, now, take a minute. Hopefully these ones that I made are dry enough. Want to cut these free of the mesh. So usually I'll just turn them over and trim really carefully around the circle, trying not to cut any of the paper off. And then just have a look and make sure none of the little bits are coming off the edge, because it will look odd. Okay, so you need 2 of those for each vehicle. And one thing you want to make sure of when you're installing them is the direction of the mesh. If you get them like sitting in different directions, will look odd. So you kind of want to be careful. And it's easy to forget about, is kind of what I'm getting at. And it will look odd later on if you don't kind of make sure they're all facing the same direction. I'll show you what I mean in a second here. Have this trimmed. Okay, now so these will go on these symbols on the rear of the hull, and just examine them so you can see the direction of the mesh. Install them both with the mesh heading in the same direction, or it looked a little bit odd. Okay. And so we have to kind of create the rest of the detailing ourselves, so I'm going to leave it there for now, and we'll do some of that in the next video. Thanks for watching. See you then.